Today I'm going to be predicting the Los Angeles Rams record for the 2021 season. Hi everyone, my name is Zach and welcome back to the Rams fam. Before we get into the video, I'd like to ask you guys to please leave your predictions for the Rams record down below, and then also consider leaving a like and subscribe as it really helps with the growth of the channel. With all that out of the way, let's get straight into our first game of the day, which is going to be the Chicago Bears. Okay, so here we are on PFF.com and we can see a little bit of a breakdown of the starters of the Bears defense and offense, as well as the Rams offense compared to their defense and vice versa. So we can see here that the Rams are basically super solid all the way through. Most of the players such as Cooper Kupp, Stafford, Henderson, Whitworth are all in the 80s, as well as Havestein. We have a very good O-line, although Corbett, this will be his first year at center. And then Bobby Evans, obviously we'll have to see how he does this year. But we have the 8th best line in the league. Now they do have Khalil Mack, which is probably the best edge defender in the league other than maybe TJ Watt. According to PFF, he is the best. But I think our receivers match up very, very well against their cornerbacks, as well as their secondary in general, as well as Tyler Higbee. Now, they do have Robert Quinn, they do have Khalil Mack, and they do have a solid line. So really, it's going to be a test of whether our line can hold up. But now that we have Matthew Stafford, if it doesn't hold up, he is a little bit more mobile and a little bit more slick in the pocket, so I think we will do pretty well on offense. Now this is where I think that we will absolutely take apart the Chicago Bears is on defense. So obviously we lost John Johnson, so that is a bit of a blow, but we do have Taylor Rapp and Jordan Fuller, as well as Terrell Burgess. And you can see here that we have Darius Williams and Jalen Ramsey, two top 10 cornerbacks according to PFF. We have Aaron Donald, Sebastian Joseph Day, Leonard Floyd, Justin Hollins. Basically, I think we are going to be able to tear up this line of the Bears, and then really get to Dalton. Obviously they do have Allen Robinson, who is one of the best receivers in the NFL, top 10 receiver in the NFL, I'd say, but I don't really like the rest of their tight ends and receivers. They do have David Montgomery, but their line isn't too good, so Aaron Donald is probably going to get to Dalton a lot. So overall, I think that the Rams get a win against the Chicago Bears. Okay, so we'll be 1-0 going into the second week of the regular season against the Indianapolis Colts, and obviously let's address the elephant in the room. Carson Wentz will not be the quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts when we play them in week 2. But this isn't going to be an easy game for the Rams. I mean, sure, Carson Wentz being out and then Jacob Eason, I believe his name is, being quarterback is definitely going to be huge for the Rams. That is going to be a huge thing for the Rams, but they do have Jonathan Taylor and Nakeem Hines, obviously. Their wide receivers don't impress me too much. T.Y. Hilton is getting older. Pittman, he could be good, but we'll have to see. I really like our secondary versus their wide receivers. As for their line, it is very, very good, but we do have the best player in the NFL, and I think, as long as Aaron Donald gets some pressure on this quarterback, it will make him crumble. Obviously, our linebackers are a bit of an issue, but overall, secondary I really like. I think our defensive line versus their offensive line is pretty evenly matched, but the fact that they lost Carson Wentz, I think that we will dominate on defense once again. Now we can take a look at their defense. This is where, I think the Rams are really going to put on a clinic against the Indianapolis Colts. They don't have that great of a secondary, in my opinion, and their best player is really Buckner, but they also have Leonard as well. So really, what I'm seeing here is that they have one great guy on the defensive line. Like, we have Ashawn Robinson, we have Sebastian Joseph Day and Aaron Donald. They really just have DeForest Buckner. So I like our line versus their line. I like our wide receivers versus their secondary, and I think Tyler Higbee will be able to eat during this game. So yeah, I would think Rams pick up another dub in week 2. All right, so we got a rematch against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers from last year. Last year we did beat them, and it was a huge game for the Rams, and that was actually when we turned, and then we actually started losing a lot of games after that Bucs game. But that was the last game where the Rams really looked crazy good. So yeah, we will be playing the Bucs. Now the Bucs returned everyone, so that's not too good for the Rams because they have a great defensive line, and then also great linebackers. They have a very good team. I will say that right now. I think this is going to be a shootout. I think that Matt Stafford is really going to show that he is a top guy, and now that he has people like Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, and Deshaun Jackson to stretch the field, Tutu Atwell at times, and then also Van Jefferson. I think that Matt Stafford is really going to put on a clinic in this game against a great defense. This is one of the best defenses in the league. I think we're pretty much gridlocked in terms of talent there. If we come to defense, though, against their offense, they have a great offensive line. They have amazing wide receivers. They have Tom Brady, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I don't like their running backs too much, but they also have Gronkowski. So honestly, I think they have us a bit beat on the just overall depth, and I think we take a loss here to the Bucs. They just have this slightly better team, and we will be, 2-1 after week 3. Okay, so next up we're gonna have the Arizona Cardinals. We will be coming off a loss, being 2-1. We will be playing the Arizona Cardinals. So here, I really do not like their defense much. I know a lot of people think that J.J. Watt's going to be a huge upgrade for them, and they also have Chandler Jones. J.J. Watt and Chandler Jones are both getting up there in age. They do have Isaiah Simmons, but he didn't play all that well last year, in my opinion. They do have Budda Baker, who is a great safety, but overall the depth isn't really there for their secondary. And I think Stafford is going to definitely exploit that. I think Watt will be a definite upgrade for them, obviously. Chandler Jones is awesome. Marcus Golden, he's great, but the Rams have the edge on offense. As for the defense, we have Kyler Murray, obviously, is a great quarterback. He's probably top 10 quarterback in the league. They did get AJ Green. I think his play has kind of fell off a cliff recently. And then obviously D-Hop, he's great, but their line isn't that good, and that showed last year. Obviously, I don't think as a Rams fan we are in too much trouble. Jalen Ramsey will be shadowing DeAndre Hopkins and definitely getting back at him and kind of taking over DeAndre Hopkins and kind of nullifying him as an option. And then obviously, I think this D-line is going to eat up the Cardinals' offensive line. So until the Cardinals beat us, I'm never going to have them beating us because we haven't lost in about 8 games to the Arizona Cardinals. So that'll be a win, going 3-1 in the first 4 weeks. Next up, we're going to have the Seattle Seahawks on Thursday Night Football. This is going to be a huge game. The Rams are going to be 3-1. I'm sure the Seahawks will be probably 3-1 as well, maybe 2-2. I haven't seen their schedule in the early part of it, but I'm sure they'll probably have a good record, possibly even 4-0. Who knows? But obviously, if we take a look, they do have one of the best, probably top 5 quarterback in the league at Russell Wilson. They have Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. Nothing's changed there. They also got Gerald Everett from the Rams, which is not too good if you ask me. I really like Gerald Everett, but I understand that the Rams had to let him go. They want to pay him. They do have a great tackle in Brown, but the rest of their line is kind of just subpar at best, and they can let defenses get to Russell Wilson at times. And I think Aaron Donald is going to eat just like he always does against Russell Wilson. Obviously, they have Chris Carson. I kind of see this as kind of a deadlock on the offensive side of Seahawks and the defensive side of the Rams. Now, this is where I think we will do super well. As you can see here, they have Quandre Diggs, they have Jamal Adams, and they have pretty okay cornerbacks, but really where we're going to beat them is on the defensive line. Their defensive line is not all that good. Obviously, Carlos Dunlap did pretty well for them last year, but he's getting older, and I don't really see him being a dominant player. As for the linebackers, they're just solid everywhere on defense, but I think we're great at wide receiver. I think we are great on the offensive line, or at least good to great on the offensive line. And now we have Stafford, who will be able to make these crazy throws to Cooper Kupp. I think we have the edge, and I think we will win on Thursday Night Football against the Seattle Seahawks. So that'll make us 4-1 going into our game against the New York Giants. So this is going to be a cool rematch from last year. I believe we won like 13-9 or something. It was a super, close game at the end, and then Darius Williams obviously had that awesome pick at the end. This year, I don't see it being close, but yeah, let's take a look. Obviously, their line sucks. I mean, sure, they have Kenny Galladay. That's a big upgrade. They have Evan Ingram. They have Darius Slayton. They have Saquon Barkley coming back. But their line is absolute garbage, and Aaron Donald will get to Daniel Jones every single play. Honestly, like, huge edge for the Rams on the defensive side. As for the offensive side, they do have a very solid defense. I really do love James Bradbury, Logan Ryan, Jabril Peppers. I love all of that. I love Martinez at linebacker. He got hurt last time against us. Their interior line, pretty good. Their edge rushers, nothing I'm really scared about, and that's really what you need against Matthew Stafford. Overall, I give us the edge on offense as well, a pretty big edge, and I see us winning this game against the Giants as well. Okay, and that'll make us 5-1 going into the revenge game against the Lions. So the big, blockbuster trade. I made a video on that yesterday if you guys wanted to check that out. And this will be a Jared Goff versus Matthew Stafford is going to be a huge game. But if we take a look at the Lions, I do love the Lions this year, honestly. I really do like the Lions. But their defense is really where they're lacking. They have an up-and-coming, pretty okay defensive line, but that's really where the good stuff kind of tails off. Their secondary, utter garbage. The inside linebackers, they're okay. They're not nothing to write home about. But yeah, so their defensive line pretty good. But in the next couple of drafts, they're gonna need to address this secondary. I do love Jeff Okudah, but their secondary is going to get torn up by Matthew Stafford. As for their offense, though, I actually do really love their offense. I love their line. It's probably one of the better lines in the league. Probably will be top 10 to top 5 this year. But that's kind of where... and then, obviously, Jared Goff, I love him. And then TJ Hawkinson is going to be a top 5 tight end this year. Tyrell Williams is great. They have Amon St. Brown, who has been doing pretty well in training camp. And then also DeAndre Swift. I think they have a great offense. I think they'll be able to put up a lot of points this year. But their secondary on defense is just utter garbage. And then their wide receivers aren't too great. But they do have a great running back and tight end and one good wide receiver and one that's promising. So I think this is actually a pretty good offense. But we're taking this win right here. And that will lead us into our 8th game of the season. We will be 7-1 going into this game. And hey, I know this seems like I'm a homer, but trust me, we will have a few more losses than this in the whole year. We haven't even got to, we've only done 2 of our divisional games. Just hear me out. But next up, we're going to have Houston. We're going to be 7-1 going against Houston, or 6-1 going into the game against Houston. And obviously, what's happening with Deshaun Watson, I have no idea. Either way, they don't have a great line. Tunzel, he's okay at times. He's bad at others. Their tight end, Atkins, he's fine. Nothing to write home about. They do have Brandon Cooks, but, he hasn't played very consistently in a very long time. Overall, the Rams are killing them on defense. As for offense, or as for the Texans defensively, utter garbage. Their cornerbacks are fine, but their safeties are terrible. Their linebackers are terrible. And I'm not just going off of these PFF grades. I also going off just my personal opinion. Their safeties are terrible. Their line is terrible. Their linebackers are terrible. The cornerbacks are okay, but when your safeties aren't good, that kind of messes up your secondary. But Rams are killing them on both sides of the field. This is going to be a blowout here. They will be 7-1 going into the game against Tennessee. Okay, so the 9th game of the season, we will be playing the Tennessee Titans on Sunday Night Football. So we can actually see here, this is going to be a pretty tough matchup. So they do have Bud Dupree, Landry, Hooker. They have a great, okay secondary. Basically, good all the way through their defense, honestly. Their line a little bit lacking, so that will give us the slightest of slight edges. I just believe it's going to be super close on the defensive side compared. And then obviously, dude, they have Julio Jones, AJ Brown. They have an okay tight end. They have Tannehill and Derrick Henry. I think they have a better offense than we do defense, just because of our kind of depth problem at corner and then also inside linebacker. It's gonna be a close game in my opinion, but I think I'm going to be giving us a loss on the Tennessee Titans game. Okay, and next up, the game before our bye, we are going to be playing the San Francisco 49ers, and we will be sitting 7-2 by my calculations going into this game. So we can see here that obviously they have Jimmy Garoppolo. I think by this point in the season, they will be starting their new rookie quarterback. So they also have Ayuk, who is a speed demon, and obviously Deebo Samuel, who's also a speed demon. They have Raheem Mostert, who runs all over us, probably one of the best tackles in the league, and then obviously they have George Kittle. So I think I will give them the edge barely against our defense. It's just kind of gridlocked on defense. It's just the linebackers that are holding us down, in my opinion. But next up we have we can look up. They have Fred Warner, who tore up Jared Goff, in the past couple of years. They also have, obviously, Nick Bosa, and then Teron Armstead, Kinlaw. They have okay corners. It's nothing crazy. They obviously played really well against us last year, but they also had struggled against other people. They have Jimmy Ward, Jason Verrett. Overall, I think the Rams are just a bit better on offense, but this is a divisional game. You never know how these are going to go. I think they're going to split the series, but I think the Rams will probably lose this one as well. So we will be 7-3 going into our bye week in week 11. Okay, and now we will be playing Green Bay. We have 3 tough games in a row here against Tennessee, San Francisco, and Green Bay. All of these I see as pretty much coin tosses. But yeah. Okay, we can see here that, they do have Devontae Adams for one more year. He said he's probably going to be leaving after that. But then they also have Alan Lazard, Robert Tonyan, and a pretty good O-line, although they lost their center, so that'll be huge considering, Aaron Donald is a factor in this game. Obviously one of the best quarterbacks in the game, Aaron Rodgers, then Aaron Jones as well. So their offense just a tad better than our defense. I'll give them the edge there. As in terms of our offense versus their defense, I think we have the slight edge on offense versus defense. They obviously have Adrian Amos, Darnell Savage, and Jair Alexander. We're pretty even in terms of wide receivers, tight ends, in my opinion. But where I think we'll win is in the offensive line and Stafford just being great, and then I think Darrell Henderson will also do very well, especially since they have Kenny Clark. He's great, but their linebackers are nothing crazy. I think that will give us the edge. But in terms of who's going to win this game, I think the Rams get the revenge from last year in the divisional playoff game, and I think the Rams take this one home. This is a toss-up. The last 3 games that we've gone over have been toss-ups. I think they take 1 out of those 3 games, but we'll have to see which one is going to be. I think it's going to be the Packers. I think we win and go 8-3. Next up, we're going to have the Jacksonville Jaguars. This one is not going to be very, this one is not going to be a very long kind of breakdown, because obviously the Jaguars are just terrible. They are pretty much just below average in every single place, except for, they do have a pretty okay defensive line. In terms of linebackers, don't like it too much. I do like Miles Jack, but that's it. Joe Schobert's fine, but in terms, we're just going to tear them up on offense, and then on defense, they will have Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne. They're just young. You got to give them some time, but they do not have very good tackles at the moment. Their inside interior line is okay, and that will help Trevor Lawrence survive Aaron Donald, but Aaron Donald's still going to get his. And yeah, so I mean, Rams win easily. As for Arizona, I already did a breakdown on Arizona, so we don't have to go through that all again. Basically, until Arizona beats the Rams, I'm never going to pick against the Rams. I think the Rams win. We go 10-3, I believe. Next up, we have Seattle. Obviously, I'm not going to break that down again. I did give us the win against Seattle in week 5. I think we also split this series. It's just how things go. But yeah, I think Seattle will probably take this one. These can be interchangeable. Maybe we win in Thursday night, they win here, or we win on Sunday, they win Thursday night. Who knows? But I think we'll probably lose this one, so we will be 10-4 going into Minnesota. Okay, here we are. Obviously, they do have a great wideout group. They have okay tight end. They have one of the best running backs, and Kirk Cousins, I think he's just a middle tier quarterback. He is, if you said, hey, who's the most average quarterback in the NFL? I'd say Kirk Cousins. I think Jared Goff is a little bit below Kirk Cousins, maybe like right with Kirk Cousins. Obviously, I just want to piss off some Rams fans just for the comments. But anyways, no, I love you guys. I love the Rams fans. But their line is okay. I don't like their left tackle at the moment. Don't like their center. Don't like their right guard. But their right tackle and left guard are okay. Their tight ends are fine, but the wideout's really good, halfback really good. I think we just have the slight edge on defense compared to their offense. In terms of defense, this is where we're going to win the game. They have a terrible secondary except for Harrison Smith. They have one good player at each position group. Secondary, Harrison Smith is great. Eric Kendricks, great at linebacker, and then Pierce is pretty good at defensive tackle. They just don't have a complete defense. I think Matthew Stafford absolutely tears up this game, and we win pretty handedly. So that will put us at 11-4 going into week 17. Okay, and now we're going to have the Baltimore Ravens on Sunday at 1:25 Eastern time, and this is going to be a huge game for us. I don't think we've beat them in a while. I can't remember if we played them last year. I remember they kind of kept us out of the playoffs 2 years ago. But yeah, let's take a look. So obviously they have Lamar Jackson. He's great. They are one of the few teams with a fullback in the NFL still, and Ricard is very good. J.K. Dobbins is kind of a work in progress, but he did okay last year. They have a great tight end in Mark Andrews. They have Sammy Watkins now, which I did not know. Hollywood Brown, he is great. They have Ronnie Stanley, but they did lose their tackle, I forget, something Brown, to the Chiefs. He was a great tackle. That's not good for them. I think that will give us a slight edge in this game, and obviously I think the Rams are great on defense, and I think they'll be able to quell anything that comes from Lamar Jackson. Take a look at their defense. Their linebackers are absolute dog. Their secondary is pretty solid. They have Humphrey. They also Marlon Humphrey. They have Marcus Peters, very good. They're average at secondary. Maybe a little bit above average at secondary. And then they do have a pretty average line. I don't like their linebackers much, but I don't like ours either. But in terms of, I give us a slight edge here too. So I think we take the game against Baltimore, and we will be 12-4 going into our final game against San Francisco, which obviously we already broke this down. I think also with San Francisco, we're going to split these games. I had them losing on Monday Night Football earlier in the season at San Francisco. I think we beat them at home in our final game, and that will put us at 13-4. So this is kind of the optimistic. I think this is the best we can do, but I think we could also lose that game to Green Bay, put us at 12-5, and maybe even possibly lose that game to who was it? Lose that game to Baltimore, or even possibly the Seahawks twice. So really, I think the bottom is going to be 11-6. I think the best we can do is 13-6. But official prediction, 13-4. Official prediction, I'm going to be putting it at 13-4 for the Los Angeles Rams. Let me know in the comment section below if you think I'm delusional, if you agree, what your prediction is. I want to know, and comment any questions you may have for me. But that's going to be it. Thank you guys so much for watching the Rams Fan today. If you guys did enjoy, please leave a like and subscribe on the video, and then make sure you comment your thoughts down below. My name is Zach, and I hope to see you in the next video.